Hello, everyone. It's Pastor Sadlow. And now that we are through the Christmas holidays, I've got a little bit more time to spend on some of the things that have been important to us. And one of those has been our Red Letter Challenge. If you remember our Red Letter Challenge by Pastor Zach Zender, we've gone through 26 different sessions. And I'd like to continue today on chapter 27 or day 27. This is something I see that we actually started back in October. So I hope to be able to go through this now and complete it before we come into our next holiday season, which begins in the middle of February. But if you remember, our Red Letter Challenge challenges us in 5 different categories of just being one of God's children, of forgiving one another, of serving one another, and challenge number 4 is of giving. And what is it to give, and how should we give? How many times have you truly given something and not received anything in return? In their book, Super Freakonomics, Stephen Levitt and Stephen Dubner write this story. At the University of Newcastle upon Tyne in England, a psychology professor named Melissa Bateson surreptitiously ran an experiment in her department's break room. Customarily, faculty members paid for coffee and other drinks by dropping money into the honesty box. Each week, Bateson posted a new price list. The prices never changed, but the small photograph atop the list did. On odd weeks, there was pictures of flowers, and on even weeks, there was a pair of human eyes. When the eyes were watching, Bateson's colleagues left nearly 3 times as much money in the honesty box. So the next time you laugh when a bird is frightened off by a silly scarecrow, remember that scarecrows work on human beings too. It may appear altruistic when you donate $100 to your local public radio station, but in exchange, you get a year of guilt-free listening. And if you're lucky, a canvas tote bag, or what did they used to give? Toasters too? No, that was the banks. U.S. citizens are easily the world's leaders in per capita charitable contributions. But the United States tax code is also among the most generous in allowing deductions for those contributions. Economists say that most giving is impure altruism. You give not only because you want to help, but because it makes you look good or feel good or perhaps feel less bad. You've done it before, and so have I. You've probably had a friend put a birthday wish to a charity they were giving, and you want to make sure your name is on the list because other family names or friends are on the list of people who gave to that charity. So you're kind of forced into being charitable. But economists with this impure altruism say that giving in that way isn't pure giving. It's giving in order to get something in return. But Jesus says, and I think the heart of what Jesus says to us today and at all times, is saying that the reason and attitude behind our giving should never be to get something in return. The reality is, it's actually hard to give without getting something in return. Even in Luke chapter 6, verse 35, Luke writes, "Lend without expecting to get anything back. Then your reward would be great, and you will be children of the Most High." And of course, that's Jesus speaking. So Jesus tells us that when we give and expect nothing back, we will eventually get something back from God. Ultimately, we worship a God who gave up his most prized possession for us. He gave his very own Son, Jesus Christ, to die for us. Through his death and resurrection, he paid the entire price for all the sin we've ever committed or will ever commit. He didn't pay 99% of it and ask us to pay the last 1%. He paid it all. As a follower of Jesus, I know and believe in the reality of Jesus' death and resurrection. How disappointing it must be for God to look at me and see that I still fail him. If he sent Jesus expecting that after his death and resurrection we would be eternally grateful and therefore live lives of complete holiness, he must be very disappointed. However, God sent Jesus not because he expected perfection from us, but simply because he loves us. Moreover, God sent Jesus knowing that even after his death and resurrection, that we would fail him. That's what it means to lend or give without expecting anything in return. We do not give because we have to. We give because we want to be like Jesus. We want to follow in the footsteps of our Savior, who laid the foundation for us to give even when we may not get anything back in return. Hear this story then from Acts chapter 16, verses 11 through 15. From Troas we put out to sea and sailed straight for Samothrace, and the next day we went on to Neapolis. From there we traveled to Philippi, a Roman colony and the leading city of that district in Macedonia, and we stayed there several days. On the Sabbath we went outside the city gate to the river, where we expected to find a place of prayer. We sat down and began to speak to the women who were gathered there. One of those listening was a woman from the city of Thyatira named Lydia, a dealer in purple cloth. She was a worshiper of God. The Lord opened her heart to respond to Paul's message. When she and the members of her household were baptized, she invited us to her home. "If you consider me a believer in the Lord," she said, "come and stay in my house." And she persuaded us. I love this story because of its simplicity. There are no synagogues or places for the early Christians to meet in Philippi, and so after being baptized, Lydia offers her house to the church. She expects nothing in return, and she wants us to be a part of what God is doing in her city. She knew that the church needed, and she knew that she had. So she gave it to the church, and her house became the headquarters for the church and its mission work in Philippi. Simple homework for today. Think about lending someone, or the next time you lend something to someone, don't be so anxious to get it back in return if it's something you're not in dire need of. But think about loaning to them something that you're not expecting anything back, any money, any thanks, or anything else of equal value in return. May God bless your day. We'll see you again real soon.